I know that it's easier said than done, but I think the most important thing is not to take things personally. And I think that in life as well as in your work, the less personally you can take things, the happier you'll be.
Welcome to a new episode of Way of Living, where I get the chance to talk to incredible people about their way of living. And today I've got the chance to talk to Jeśka, who traveled from South Africa to New York and then London to follow her dreams. But what exactly are her dreams? Hi Jeśka.
Hi Morgan.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you again. So I would like you to talk to us about your journey from South Africa to New York, and why did you end up in London?
Okay. So I went to drama school in South Africa, to UCT, studied theatre performance there. And because my degree was live performance based, and we did a lot of stage and theatre, it was amazing training. But I moved to New York and went to the New York Film Academy to get sort of practical film experience. And so I was there for 2 years. I was working and acting for my second year in New York. And I then moved to London because I have a Polish passport. So they're both quite similar cities in terms of, very different cities, but similar cities in terms of the fact that they both have a strong theatre base. There's a lot of opportunities for performers, and it made it easier for me to live and work in the UK as opposed to the States. So that's when I moved here 5 years ago.
Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's greener than New York. It's kind of spread out. It's quite culturally similar to South Africa. And it's just a wonderful melting pot in terms of different nationalities, people with different lifestyles, people with different interests. So there's never a dull moment. It's amazing.
Don't you miss South Africa?
I do. I'm fortunate enough to be able to go back fairly regularly. It's always wonderful. It'll always be home. It's always wonderful to go back. But I love being here in terms of the opportunity, in terms of what I'm able to do here professionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you not be able to do this in South Africa?
Do you know what? I probably would. I have a lot of friends that are doing really, really well who I studied with. Who have really made a name for themselves in South Africa. It's a smaller industry, so the opportunities when they do come around, it's easier to get a foot in the door, but they're few and further between. And in terms of what I've gone into in the last sort of year and a half, which is specialty action and combat training, and there's not a lot of that in South Africa at all. So yeah, it's really. Yeah.
Why combat training? Why action?
So I still act. I was in The Crown earlier in this year. I did a show at Camden Fringe towards the end of last year, or last summer rather. So I still do straight acting, but I have a background in martial arts, and I've always liked a physical challenge. I do sort of quite a few sort of medium to long distance races, half marathons and things like that. And my training I did a major in contemporary dance as well when I was at UCT. So what's nice about specialty action is it's kind of a combination of choreography and sort of routines with the physical stuff, and it's really, really good fun.
Really? How long have you been doing this for?
Since probably about May last year, so just over a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you been just practicing at the moment, or have you been doing like...
I've done a few projects. I was recently filming, actually this week, I was filming on a BBC series, and we had an action scene. I won't tell you too much about it because I've signed an NDA. And then I did a music video also about a month ago that's coming out by James Blake, which also had a fight scene. And a short film called Minuteman, which is also due for release pretty soon. So I've done quite a few action jobs as well as the acting stuff.
That's incredible. In 5 months only?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the momentum on the back of, I think it's quite rare in the action world to find people that are trained actors as well. So the amalgamation of the two has opened a lot of doors and sort of generated a lot of momentum in a short time, which is great. Yeah.
So when you transferred from New York to here, were you transferred or you just decided to move?
I was actually applying for a visa to go back to the States, and I was in South Africa over the Christmas period, and I just kind of thought, well, I can't sit in South Africa waiting for a visa to come through. I was still paying rent in New York, so I was like, let me just move for a couple of months and sort of just be in London, earn some money, have the experience, and I just never left. So it was a happy accident, really.
So when you got here and you worked to get money and wait, kind of, were you planning of acting?
So initially I thought I was just going to come for a couple of months, do whatever, and then go back to the States.
So no acting in the meantime?
No.
Okay.
No, so it was probably kind of 2 or 3 months in when I kind of realized that I was going to stay here, that I started pursuing it a little bit more and sort of laying the groundwork for an acting career here.
Are you with an agency or do you have an agent?
I do, yeah. Okay. I have an action agent as well. So the British Action Academy, who I trained with, they have an agency as well, and I'm on their books as well as another one.
Was it hard to find an agent?
Yeah, there's so many agents in London, and I think each of them offers sort of different things, and it's when you're sort of starting out in the industry, you don't really know who's who or who does what. So there's a lot of sort of trial and error. I've done a bit of work in publicity as well. I've met a lot of people in the industry, so you do kind of, there's no blueprint, especially I think in any performing arts, there's no sort of right and wrong way to do things. There's no one telling you what the right thing is to do. So there's a lot of trial and error, and you eventually sort of carve a path out for yourself. Yeah.
Can you talk to us about the up and downs about this, when you don't know anyone, you don't know where to go exactly, and you have to do it all on your own? The fails maybe, or the deceptions.
Do you know, I think the most important thing anywhere, especially if you're in a new city, is as soon as you have a group of people who you care about and who care about you and who are going to worry about whether you've gotten home safely at the end of a night, I think you can start to feel at home in a very short space of time as soon as you have people around you. And I think that's so important, especially in an industry that is so unpredictable, to have a support system, even if they don't understand the industry at all, even if they're in finance, to have people around you that you can rely on and that are consistent.
So what about the difficulties as well as a foreigner? So you had only one friend when you came to London.
Yeah, that's right.
How was it to... Have you ever traveled to London before?
I'd been once when I was 10 years old, so I was essentially completely new. I was really, really lucky because quite early on, I think there's so many South Africans in London, and there's so many different people from different countries in London. So I was really lucky in that friends of mine in South Africa were contacting me on Facebook, and they were saying, you have to meet this person, you have to meet that person. And so in a really short space of time, I think my first week, it was pouring with rain. My only friend, Jen, who the only person I knew here, was doing an internship in fashion, which was brutal. So I never saw her. And this girl, Nina, just said, shall we go for a glass of wine? And that was the first time and up until for the first few days, I was like, going along the South Bank, and I was just walking around, like looking at Big Ben, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here, like what am I doing? And then that was the first, she was the first person that I went for a glass of wine with her, and then maybe the following week I think I went to a dinner party, and then I met who then became my flatmate, Brett, at a dinner party. So it was really, I was so lucky that I sort of moved into this already established friendship group. and met people really quickly. And then through work as well, I just met so many different people from England, from Italy, from all over the world. So it's been really, really lucky, and I just have the most amazing group of people and friends here in London. So
that's really nice.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll stay here for a long time?
I think so. I don't think one can ever sort of categorically say that, because you never know who you meet, you never know what opportunity might arise. So I'd be open to moving elsewhere for work, and that is the nature of things as well. But I think London's a pretty good place to base myself for now.
Do you have any traveling background? Because you've moved a lot, it's you don't really have. It feels like you just can set your roots anywhere. Is your family this way?
My family, my brother's a homing pigeon for sure. So he's back in the city where we grew up. But I've always just from a really young age had a very adventurous spirit. And I kind of said to my parents, my family and I are really, really close. But I said to them from quite early on, I was like, guys, as soon as I hit 18, as soon as high school's out, I'm out the door. So I moved as soon as I finished high school, I moved to Cape Town. I grew up in Durban, so settled there. That was sort of like a medium distance move. And then from there, New York, that was pretty daunting, moving to New York, because I didn't know a soul. But at least I was moving to study. So you kind of go into a school and you meet your classmates, and you sort of I think that's easier than moving to a city and not having a reason to move there. But no, I wouldn't say it's necessary. I was lucky enough to travel sort of for holidays growing up, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily something that it sounds like I'm used to doing it, but I wasn't before. Yeah.
Do you think going to New York and this school for 2 years, right?
The school was for 1 year, and then I was acting and working and doing other bits and pieces.
Do you think it was it helped you getting a job here?
For sure. I think a lot of people learn on the job, which I think is the best way to learn. But I was really lucky to have a year of personal sort of on-camera experience that I was then able to use and apply, so that when I did get onto set and when I did sort of get onto filming, and even with the specialty action stuff, to already have an awareness of camera, which is such a big thing, because everything you do, you have to make it work to camera, and you have to make sure that camera is everything, because if it doesn't work for camera, it's not gonna it doesn't work at all. So I do think that having that training definitely helped, and it's definitely put me in really good stead, especially for the film work that I've done up until this point. Yeah.
So what would you say was your best decision in life?
Best decision in life? In terms of my career, or?
Yes.
My best decision would be to stick with what I love and what I've always wanted to do. I think I've wanted to be a performer since I was 9 years old, if not before then, and I feel incredibly lucky to have been supported in terms of what I wanted to do. My parents were never, there's a lot about the industry that they don't understand, but they were never, they've never questioned it. They've never said, what are you talking about, or discouraged me, or and I think that's the biggest gift that you can ever give to your child, is to embrace their strengths and embrace their passions and their talents, and let them explore and make those decisions for themselves. Because even though it's not a conventional career path, and I always knew that it wouldn't be, there's something so satisfying about waking up and doing what you love every day, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Trust in your kids.
Mm.
Why acting since you were 9? What made you love it, fall in love with it, and made you know you were going to be an actress?
Do you know what? I was actually painfully shy growing up. I had best friends that weren't very nice to me.
Best friends?
Yeah, like I was always sort of taken advantage of and bullied by I just obviously wasn't a very good judge of character back then. I've definitely been making up for lost time since then, but I was quite quiet, and it was a really good way of channeling whatever I was going through, and I was just a completely different person every time I stepped on to stage. And people actually, because I think I had my first lead role when I was 9 years old. I played Jane in Mary Poppins.
Oh.
And people couldn't believe it because I auditioned, and they were just like, who is this child? So I think it was definitely, initially it was just a way of expressing myself. And I still love that about it. I love the fact that you can just be completely uninhibited, and you have permission to be a monster, or to express sides of yourself that aren't socially acceptable. And you have permission to do things that would get you locked up in day-to-day society. So that's a pretty freeing thing in itself.
How do you prepare for auditions? Like your first one was when you were 9.
Yeah. Not much preparation went into that. I think I had the script and I was like, we're going to the bank, Daddy. But how do I prepare? I always, and Michael Caine will say this to you as well, always learn my lines as quickly and as best as possible in the given time, so that you have the freedom not to be able to think about what even if you have the script with you, that's like a non-negotiable, because once you know your lines and once you have them in your head, you can then say them and sort of act without having to think about them. So that's the number one thing. And then it also depends what I'm auditioning for, but I'd say that's probably the number one. And then also a bit of emotional preparation if you're going into a scene with a certain sort of emotional state. Yeah.
Who is your biggest influence?
Career-wise?
Yeah.
I think that Natalie Portman is amazing. I love her because she's really accessible. She's so natural. She's really sort of like, she can be girl next door, and then she also plays these serious, amazing roles full of depth and like they're so incredibly complex. So I'd say she's probably my biggest role model in terms of an acting career.
Very versatile. Yeah, it's really nice to see this. Would you say you're following your dreams?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I would.
So your dream is to act?
To act. I sing as well. The specialty action stuff is great. Doesn't matter what performance it is, I'm always happiest when I'm performing in some way or another.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest advice for people who want to get into it, into acting or into singing? They don't feel really like their family doesn't really trust it, believe in them. So what would you advise them?
I'd say if you're passionate about anything, don't ignore it. I think it's so lucky to be given something that you're either good at or passionate about or that lights you up. Even if it's not your career, I think it's just so important to have something that you love. Explore it, and also work at it. I think passion or interest or I think passion isn't always enough. I think motivation, because motivation comes and goes, but if you know that you're serious about pursuing something, you have to work at it whether you feel motivated in the morning or not. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, is if you wait for the motivation to strike, it doesn't happen all the time, you know. So decide, don't deny it, explore it, and keep working at it.
So how do you know you're good at it, and how do you make it happen, this passion?
Well, I think you can't in order to be good at anything, you can't rely on talent alone. So I think if you are passionate about something, and if you're lucky enough to be interested in something, some people don't have any interests, and I think it's so important, even if it's not your career or your job, it's so important to be passionate about something and to have something that lights you up. So I think if you do love something, explore it, pursue it, don't deny it, and I think, work at it, and I think have a level of self-awareness, because I think that you have to have like a sense of self-confidence to be able to pursue something that you enjoy and that you love, especially in the arts, but also have a balance of humility and self-awareness, so that if you may be out of your depth, or if I definitely wouldn't go to like a tap dancing championship if I'd never tap danced and I'd never put in the work. So yeah, I think a balance between the two is important.
So you were a shy 9-year-old little girl, and now you're confident, you're doing what you love. How did this happen?
I think that the acting and the performance really helped. Because when you're in front of people and when you're in the public eye, you do get used to it, and you do develop a sense of confidence. The better you are at something and the more experienced you are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I have a passion for people and for the meeting new people and pouring time and energy into friendships, and a curiosity when it comes to engaging with and learning more about people. So I think that passion has led me to be more confident when it comes to interacting with and meeting new people. And I also have these incredible parents who, for years, they've been involved with personal growth courses, and a program called the More to Life program, which teaches you practical tools when it comes to dealing with resentment and life trauma and processing life experiences, and they've poured time and energy into me and my brother, and helped us to sort of develop a sense of self-assurance and self-esteem, and to teach us those tools to be able to deal with the day-to-day things that life throws at us. So I do feel incredibly lucky.
Yeah, that's very lucky. So you said you're in the public eye. Public eye means people are judging, watching. How do you deal with criticism and judgment and rejection from auditions and everything?
So I know that it's easier said than done, but I think the most important thing is not to take things personally. And I think that in life as well as in your work, the less personally you can take things, the happier you'll be. And I think it's important to be able to distinguish when to take things personally and when not to. In terms of rejection, in terms of your career, you might not get a role because the casting director wanted someone with red hair and not brown, or because the director's niece is in it and they want to carve out a role for them. So there's a lot that is out of your control. And if you know that you've worked and you've come prepared, that you've trained and you come bringing your best, putting your best foot forward every time, and knowing that, whether or not you get the job, that's something that you have to forget about and not take personally, and walk away.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
What's next for you to end this incredible chat with you? What's next for you?
Well, in terms of my combat training, I am sort of halfway through the phases of the Warrior Masterclasses, which is the training that I've been doing for the last year. So the plan is to finish my phase 4, so that I'm a fully fledged advanced screen combatant.
Oh wow.
I've got a couple of films lined up in the summer, And so I'm really looking forward to that. We've got something filming in the Lake District, which is going to be beautiful. Yeah, just going to watch the space and see what happens.
That's absolutely amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For everything that you have accomplished and you are going to accomplish. Because so much is going to happen again. And thank you so much for watching. And I see you next time. Bye.